Thank you all very much for being here. We're here on a very important issue that has taken on increased significance over the last several months due to events around the world that we're all very familiar with, going back to October. We have felt a real effect here in New York in terms of increased danger to the students at non-public religious schools throughout our state, and it is critically important that we do what we can as a state to protect New Yorkers within our borders who want their kids to get to and from school safely. We have unfortunately had several incidents of hate at many of these locations. You'll hear about some of them this morning. But what we are calling for here is a doubling of available funds for security at non-public schools that can be used for security guards, can be used for hardening the infrastructure to make sure that the kids are protected. The current funding allotment is $45 million. We are asking for $90 million, a doubling of that funding. And what has made an impression on myself and many of us here is that this is a call that has brought together and united people, people of Muslim faith, people of the Jewish faith, and we even have Catholics and Greek Orthodox represented here today. So when people who are divided all over the world are coming together to ask for the same thing in the same way, that's a very powerful message, and I think we'd be wise to heed it and do what we can to respond to the calls that these parents are asking for. So we're going to hear from a number of my colleagues and also a number of important advocates on this issue. We're going to start with Maury Litwack, who's the founder of the Teach Coalition.
Thank you to Deputy Leader Gianaris. We're very fortunate in New York to have a leader like Deputy Leader Gianaris. Thank you very much. No child should live in fear. No student should be afraid to go to school. No one should be deterred from practicing their faith. Yet too many Jewish and Islamic students hide their faith. Yet too many parents fear for their child's safety. Yet too many faith-based schools don't have the protections they need. Today we call on Albany to change that. Today we call on Albany to stop the anti-Semitism tax, the Islamophobic tax. Today we call for change. We stand together. We stand as New Yorkers. We stand for a better future for all children.
Thank you, Maury. Very to the point, Maury. Thank you. We actually, as part of the budget process in both houses, circulated letters of support for this proposal, and I have never seen an issue get so much support from so many. I know the Assembly had dozens and dozens of signatories. Here on the Senate side, we had a vast majority of the body, including the minority leader and most of the Democratic conference as well. So we're going to hear from some of the great supporters on this. We're going to begin with Senator Ewen Chu.
Good morning, everybody. I'm State Senator Ewen Chu, represent Southern Brooklyn here. Today, I'm here to show my strong support for this funding because every student in New York, they deserve to feel safe, no matter in the school, out of school, around the school. So I really want to share my appreciation for Senator Mike Gianaris for taking this lead. We need to make sure our schools, non-public schools, have adequate funding so that we can have those equipments and programming in place. Then no matter what religion we practice, no matter what ethnicity background you're from, we need to all feel safe. And we're here to make sure every student get the quality education and safe in the school. Thank you.
I mentioned that there were incidents that have already occurred just in the last several months, and I want to ask the director of a school in my very own district, the Rozzi School in the Sunnyside, Woodside area of Queens, to tell us her story and why this is important. So please bring up Imani Moore.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Gianaris. Like many of our colleagues here, the Rozzi School has experienced a few incidents where students leaving school have been accosted by individuals preaching hate. We had an incident just after October 7th where 3 siblings were leaving the school and some random person approached the sisters and started to harass them and tell them that they didn't need to be here. And when the young brother came to his sister's aid, that individual started to beat him. That was the first of a few. We've had many instances where students are either right directly in front of the school or they're around the corner heading to the subway. This is something that a student shouldn't have to deal with, regardless of whether they're a Jewish student, an Islamic student, a Catholic student. It doesn't matter. Students should feel safe within the school district. We rely on the governor and the mayors of the city to keep the other spaces safe for all individuals, but the schools, we need this funding to help keep our students safe. When something happens in a school, we instantly get numerous calls from parents asking, is everything okay, is everything okay, is everything okay? We want to assure them that their child, when they enter our building, that they are safe and sound and we can return them home in that same manner. And it should not rely on whether they practice one religion or the other. All students have to be safe. Thank you.
Next, I want to bring up a colleague who cares so deeply about this issue that he traveled all the way from Brooklyn to Queens to talk to me about it. Senator Simcha Felder. He passes his comments. Okay. He's good. Okay, thank you, Senator Felder. We're going to move right on to another senator then who was encouraging Senator Felder to speak. Well, that's John Liu to come and give remarks. Oh, Shelley's here. You're right, I didn't see Shelley. No. Okay, Shelley, come on up here. I didn't see our Education Committee Chair who has been so important in championing this issue, Senator Shelley Mayer.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here with so many friends and colleagues, and not only as chair of the Committee on Education, but as someone who has so many schools of faith in my district and in my community, Jewish day schools, Catholic schools, Islamic schools, all of whom after October 7th reached out. And their parents, as was described before, the parents had such deep concerns about the safety of their kids, walking to and from school, wearing a yarmulke, wearing a headscarf, feeling secure, which is what we as legislators owe our families and our kids. And this is so important that we have the funding to support these schools. They have paid out hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to get off-duty police officers all over the state simply to ensure safety. We have to make sure that they are protected, and we have to put the money where our mouth is. And that's what we're doing, and I'm very pleased to be here with all my colleagues in strong support of this funding. Thank you.
John, you ready now? Senator John Liu.
Thank you all for being here. I agree with everything that everybody has said already. Thank you. Just kidding. I'll just be very brief to underscore the point that it is our state's constitution that requires us to provide a sound basic education for all school kids. There are many families, a significant number of families in our state who choose to send their schools to send their kids to other than public schools. That may be the case, but it is still our responsibility, the state's responsibility, to keep all school kids safe. And that's precisely what this funding is all about. I honestly wish that it wasn't necessary. But in this time and age, it's more necessary than ever before. So I support this call and this effort to double the funding for the non-public school safety equipment. Thank you.
And next, we're going to call up Rabbi Silber from Agudath Israel. He's up here somewhere.
Okay. Thank you, Senator. I'm here representing Agudath Israel. We work closely with our friends at NYS, and I can say every single school across the state, without exception, has security on their mind. Sadly, anti-Semitism and other forms of hate have been on the rise for a number of years, and more so, even more so, since the brutal attacks of October 7th. Schools are now forced to increase spending on security needs. For most schools, enhanced security is no longer an option or a luxury. It is now a necessity. Many of these schools have as much as 90% of their students on scholarship. Oftentimes, schools are faced with a difficult choice whether to enhance their students' education or their security. No school should ever have to face that choice. MPSC is a wonderful program with a whole host of allowable usages that increase security and safety. We need to get it to a level where no school is forced to choose between education and security. And we proudly support the effort to double the MPSC to $90 million. And thank you, Senator Gianaris, for being our champion and for pushing it. Let's do what we can. Let's get the $90 million. Let's get it done in the enacted budget. Thank you.
Okay, just a couple more, and then we'll take any questions. I think I saw Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel has been here with us, another great supporter.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Gianaris. State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel. I represent the west side of Manhattan from Christopher Street up to West 103rd. Needless to say, this is an issue of great concern to my constituents. I want to thank everyone for coming here today. My husband and I have grappled with the question whether our 6-year-old should wear her Jewish star to school. So I can understand the gravity that is before us and parents across this state. You cannot educate under the specter of fear. It comes down to that. And with the money that Senator Gianaris is championing along with our Senate colleagues, we hopefully can dissipate that concern and allow our students to learn in peace. Thank you so much, Senator Gianaris.
Next up, we're going to hear from the Catholic Conference as well. Jim Coltrera is here.
Thank you. The Catholic community knows all too well what it means to be victims of hatred, victims of violence, and it is out of that experience that we stand together with our Jewish and Muslim brothers and sisters, stand together urging for this funding, thanking the Senate for their leadership, and continuing to advocate to get this funding secured in the state budget. Thank you.
Senator Andrew Gianaris from Brooklyn.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm State Senator Andrew Gianaris from Brooklyn. We hear a lot about how parents are concerned about the safety of their kids, but let's think about the students for a moment, because the data is clear that students that are anxious in school are not able to thrive in school. And what we know is that students that go to school where a building that should be a safe haven, a place of reading, writing, and arithmetic, if they are preoccupied with thinking about something bad happening to them in that school, you've lost them for the day, you've lost them for the week, you've lost them for the month and for the year. They're not able to concentrate, they're not able to learn, they're not able to grow and develop and thrive. And so this funding, the security provided by this funding, the assurances provided by this funding will help not just parents who are very anxious. I know we have a lot of anxious parents here and educators here, but it will help the students as well, because they should not have to learn or be forced to learn in a climate of fear and deep anxiety. And that's why I'm such happy to be here with you, and I want to thank Senator Gianaris for leading us on this issue.
You see a lot of Senate representation. I want to also say a word about Assemblymember Hevesi, who has been championing this in the Assembly. He couldn't be with us this morning, but he has been a great advocate. And we do have with us from the Assembly, Assemblymember Taylor Darling.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Assemblymember Taylor Darling, and I proudly represent Nassau County. And I hate that we have to meet under these circumstances, but I am the fortunate person who gets to represent Hank, the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County. And I recently went and toured the facility, and I've never seen more beautiful, hopeful, excited children who were learning everything they needed to learn per their curriculum, but also learning about their faith. And it really just was a complete vibe. But in that vibe, there was fear, concern, and you saw it in the educators, you saw it in the parents, you saw it in the children. And as my colleagues have stated before, it is very difficult to learn in fear. And we are really drowning in hatred right now in New York. And the base of all of these religions is love. And love is a verb. We need actions to show that we love and support our children and our communities. We absolutely need this increase in funding to protect our children and the staffs at our non-public religious schools. And I just want to thank the Deputy Leader and all of my colleagues here for this fight, Teach NYS for keeping us informed of what's going on. And I want the children to know they have champions fighting for them here in New York State. So let's get this done. Thank you.
Okay, I hope I didn't miss anybody. I also want to acknowledge that we have joining us today local school principal Sohaib Chekima from Anur Islamic School in Schenectady, and Khadija Jean Price from the Islamic Cultural Central School. With that, if there's any questions, we'll take them. This has been a program that's been around for a little bit, and it is one that has been very successful in terms of its implementation. The problem is there's not enough money in it. So it's currently funded at $45 million, but given the increasing needs, the leaders of these communities are telling us they need a doubling of that funding. There is a separate pot of money that the governor has talked about increasing, which is much more restricted and difficult to access, and so we think it's a better use of our resources to channel into a program that the communities tell us work and they need more of. All right. Thank you all very much. Thank you, everybody.